Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you my review of this week's episode of The Originals on the CW. This week we see in Season 4, Episode 5, which is called I Hear You Knocking. And I apologize for the lateness, but work, held me over, so I missed the initial airing. And, also just the fact, I'm just trying to catch up on all these other shows, trying to keep up with these shows, and watching things on the side that I like. I've explained that about like 5,000 times for the past few videos I've done, but still I apologize. But The Originals is a staple of my channel that I plan to review until when it eventually ends. Hopefully not for a while. It better get renewed for season 5. Because I'd swear I'd tear someone apart if they cut off Klaus's story before it's all put together. But anyway, this is a really, really good episode. I liked it quite a bit. It might have been arguably the best of the season so far, maybe. Although I did like where it started off. I found that really interesting and everything, the first episode or two. But, we kind of knew where all that was going, Klaus escaping somehow and things like that. So in a way, I do think this might have been the best episode of the season thus far. We got more of a look into the darkness, or not the darkness, but, the hollow. We got some pretty good action moments, with Klaus and Marcel in this one that I think we were all waiting for. And we had, more time with, Freya spending time with Keelin. I'm probably mispronouncing her name, but the female werewolf, who she was using to help her family, but now it seems like she's going pretty close with her, which I talked about that briefly last week. I think one of the writers or one of the producers or something has said that their relationship goes in a surprising direction, and I think it's kind of clear they're going some kind of romantic route with them. And I'm fine with that. Freya, she's been on the show for a while now, ever since the, later half of season 2. And I think, she's one of my favorites, and I think she deserves a love interest by now. And I'm fine with it if it turns out to be this female werewolf. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure she's going to be in collateral damage somehow. But it'll still be nice for Freya to have that, I think. It'll be pretty sweet. And I was hoping I was going to have that at the end of this episode, but I imagine it probably will in the next few or so. But it's just clear that that's what they're going for, the way they shot them looking at each other at certain times from like the side, and the the whole leg touch thing. It's clear, and I'm excited. And then we also had Haley and Elijah, out more into the bayou, visiting Jack's grandmother and everything like that. As Klaus had sent him out there with hope, to sort of avoid any potential issues if he grew too far under control of, the hollow, which is, of course, smart on his part. So Haley and Elijah had some nice scenes together as well, including, like a joke about Elijah, finally taking off his suit and wearing, like, jean shorts and flip-flops or something and settling down out there. So that stuff was all pretty nice, but definitely the highlights of the episode were the hollow and how that was affecting both Klaus and Marcel. I want to say Klaus actually ended up dealing with it better, I think, in the end. Marcel, he did resist. They both resisted. Marcel had these visions of Elijah, going through the poetry he used to, make him learn and everything like that. And Klaus was tormented by the hollow taking the form of Mikael, back in, their Viking days, back when Klaus was a child. Really good and really cool to see Sebastian Rushke on the show again. I just completely butchered his name. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but it's still good to see him come back at, not as the character, but, the form of the character. The Klaus and Mikael story, it's still one of my favorites, and in my eyes, arguably still the strongest, dynamic on the show, really. I hope we see, the real Mikael again somehow, or, not just in flashbacks. I hope, Klaus somehow bumps into him on, this other, plane or something like that. Because I think their interaction could actually be interesting, considering, how Michael's death was handled, at the end of season 2. I think they might have some different exchanges at this point, but it's still good to see not good, but it's still interesting to see the Hollow use like Klaus's childhood memories of what Mikael did, to sort of get into his head. Um, Meanwhile, Freya had given him a dagger that would finally kill Marcel, and so it was interesting to see if Klaus would actually push to that point where he actually would, stab him with it. It did seem like he tried a few times, but knowing Klaus, he might have actually not gone through with it if he had that chance in those fights, because it's obvious that Marcel would be able to block the times he did go for him there. But the fight I thought was pretty good. Like I said, it was definitely exciting, something we've all been kind of waiting to see this season. Although it's weird because Marcel suddenly doesn't feel that powerful, we've seen how like unstoppable and how like over the top Lucien's power was last season. And you think Marcel would only be better because he'd have that power and he's already a more skilled fighter than Lucien. But it just felt kind of weird, like he didn't have that much of an advantage over Klaus. Now, if Klaus used his hybrid power, which we never see anymore for some reason, then Klaus could arguably match the upgraded original power or maybe exceed it. We don't know. But they never use that anymore for some reason. I just think they use it for plot convenience, so Klaus has a more difficult time. But either way, I feel like Marcel should have, been able to do more with that power in this fight. But it was still cool to see Klaus get the advantage without using his hybrid powers, though. Like hitting him through the walls and everything like that. I definitely enjoyed it. And Klaus choosing to spare Marcel's life, I think, was a good one. He could have killed him, he could have stabbed him with it, but Klaus said he just didn't want to give the Hollow what it wants. It's not born out like some nostalgic or sort of like sympathy for what they used to have. It was just to not give the Hollow what it wants, but at the same time that there's still some kind of bond left between Klaus and Marcel, and I think that will grow or rear its head a little bit more as we get a little bit further into the season. But it was still some intense stuff, I thought. I liked Freya's part and trying to get it away from them in this episode as well. And I liked the exchange between Marcel and Elijah at the end of the episode, when they had put him back in where Marcel had been keeping Klaus at the beginning of the season. Elijah tries to point out to Marcel that Klaus is changing, the simple fact that he spared his life here, and how much of an influence Hope has already had on him. Marcel's not buying into it, but we know it's true. We've seen how much Klaus has developed, and he's changed so much. Especially since TVD, but even throughout the originals, he's changed too. But like I said, I think that bond will sort of come back at some point this season, but we'll see. But either way, I thought this was a really good episode. Like I said, I think the best of the season so far. If I had to rate it, I'd rate it, somewhere around like a 9.3, 9.5 out of 10. I just liked it that much. From the Klaus and Marcel stuff to more with a Hollow, seeing Mikael again in some way. Even if it wasn't him, it was still really cool. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this one. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.